So it is started. Okay, so let's see what we do today. There are 2 items on the agenda that, as a suggestion, we can do whatever we want, but there have been 2 items proposed. One is about reviewing quickly what happened in XWiki 9.11, which was released about 2 days ago, a few days ago, actually. And then there's another item, which is to, since we have Robert from Maven here, which is to discuss a bit if there are any possibility or what it would mean to use XWiki, for example, as a documentation site for the Maven project, and how we could, how would that be possible or not, what it would mean, what infrastructure would we need, etc., and all questions that you have, Robert. You have a lot of the XWiki team here, so feel free to fire away all the questions you want. So maybe Ben, I just want to make sure. Let's go around the table and see what people are interested in discussing, and then we can start. Ben, maybe you have. Do you have any point, any specific things that you're interested in discussing?
One interesting one, if we've got time, and it's what you guys would think, or how you guys would approach a distributed version of XWiki. I can go into it in a bit more detail in a bit if you want, but the idea would be to have one single instance of XWiki saving to multiple databases depending on what category of information you're saving. This is for export control reasons and a few other things I can tell you about if you want.
Yeah, we can talk about that. We've had some experiments in the past about this, so we can also elaborate on that. Okay, thanks. Eddie, Cathy, anything on your side?
No, I'm just here if there are some questions. I'm curious about the discussion, so yeah.
Okay. Eddie, Sam, okay. Clément, anything on your side?
No, nothing particular, but
okay,
we'll see how it goes. So.
Okay, and Robert, I guess that's what I mentioned already. Yes.
Yes. So for me, it's just have your discussions, and in the end, let's talk about the Apache Maven challenge we have. Okay.
Cool. So, so maybe we could actually start with this, since we have Robert here. He's not usually on this chat, so maybe we should start with that and discuss it. So maybe you could explain, Robert, for the others, what you're looking for, what are the challenges you're trying to solve, and what are your needs in general.
Okay, so the current Apache website of Maven is quite old, and it needs a real update, also about the content and etc. And Ekaterina started with a mock-up, and that was based on XWiki. So that was one of the reasons why I started to dive into this project and to have a look at what the capabilities are. So maybe it's good to explain what we do right now. So we have actually all the content is generated. We have our own markup languages, and they are all translated to HTML files, and they are being uploaded. We have the Maven site plugin, which generates this and wraps it with a specific skin. Depends on what you want. Right now we use the Bootstrap, and it works fine. But we just want to have a new, fresh look. And one of the things we are looking for is also some kind of CMS, which also supports staging, because when we do a release of some project within Maven, for instance, a plugin, we have 72-hour vote, and in that time people can verify if this works or not, but also the website is part of this staging. So for a specific period, we want to have the current website, but also the stage for the next version. And if everything is correct, then we want to switch to this new version of the website. In total, I think the Maven project has about 80 sub-projects, so that's the thing you also have to keep in mind. So we have this main site with some static information, and underneath are about 80 sub-sites. So,
okay.
That's clear?
Okay, well, I'll start with a question. Basically, there are the two options. One is the static website, which is what we've been doing, and XWiki is it's not a generation; it's running. It's a live website.
Right.
So there are two different approaches. What you mentioned about the staging, actually, something that I guess you could do is the static approach with the branches, because you've got the site in your SCM. So you could actually, it seems to me that it would work with the static approach. So I don't see that as a necessity for a CMS, or maybe there's something I don't understand.
Well, maybe that works. I just don't know. I don't know your product good enough for it.
What I mean is that if you've got branches in your SCM, then of course you can have different versions of the documentation for the website as files in the different branches. So whenever you're ready to cut a release, if you want to stage, then you just create that branch. You can even publish it on some places for people to review it, and that should be enough, I guess. But that doesn't require a live website for that.
True.
Yeah, okay.
I think it should be static.
Okay. Now, so XWiki is dynamic, though. And the advantage of XWiki is not on this aspect. The advantage of XWiki is more on the easiness of edit, the collaborative approach, where it's easier to edit content there, to favor collaboration and have more activity on the website in general, and the ability to execute some stuff that you wouldn't be able to do on the static website. If you want to generate some I don't know, some live statistics, or have the ability for people to register things. For example, imagine you would want, like on XWiki.org, we have people who tell us what they're doing with XWiki, and so they're able to enter some data in forms, and that's set up to the website dynamically, and then you can search them, you can view them, filter them dynamically with a lot of further things. So these are really the advantages of XWiki. So I was wondering whether you had, if you had some such needs. From what you've said, it doesn't seem so right now, but maybe it could be interesting for the future. I don't know.
Right. So I think most part of the website is just references, and it won't change. It's all part of the release of the product. So only the general pages of the Apache Maven website can be dynamic, but right now it's static, and that's good enough for us.
Okay, so what's your idea with XWiki then?
It's based on Ekaterina, who made an example of it. Maybe she can explain it.
So when I did the proposal, I used XWiki because that's what I know. So it was very easy for me to do it. Now, if you want just static, it's much easier. When I did the proposal, I also thought that, I don't know, maybe you'll want to gather the roadmap in that. I mean, it goes beyond what you're currently doing. Or to have, I don't know, macros or applications.
Yeah, for example, on XWiki.org, we've got, we can use the Jira macro that lists all the Jira that matches some filter. So it's easy to have some kind of dashboards or things when you see where you are. We've got a roadmap application. We've got a release notes application, all these kind of things that help for the general life of a development project. But those are probably not your main need, from what I understand.
When I did the proposal, I also used the navigation, and I thought the proposal as a flavor for documentation. So that's why I kind of mixed. But again, this goes beyond of what you're currently doing.
And for me, Robert, the biggest need for XWiki would be if you wanted really for people, anyone, to be able to edit pages and contribute to the documentation. That would be the main thing, I think, because that would make it simpler than having to have an account or on GitHub and sending pull requests.
And another thing is, because XWiki can have multiple wikis and also have the skin system like Maven does, when I did the proposal, I thought that it would be very easy to just change the colors or some aspects and reuse that skin for multiple sub-projects of Apache. So that's what...
So we're able to export, I mean, you can have an edit site with XWiki, and export in HTML. The static export that then becomes your static content that you serve in view mode, for example. That's also possible, but it's not the main use case. So from what I understand, you're not really looking for, or you don't really need XWiki as a running tool for hosting the documentation, correct?
I think it will make things only more complex. I think maybe.
Exactly. It makes things more complex. So you need to have the use cases. If you don't have the use cases and the needs, then the complexity is not is too much. If you do have the needs about the dynamicity, then the complexity can be acceptable. But if you don't have the needs, then obviously I don't think it's probably not the best choice.
No. So I think for now, I think we will just start with redesigning the website, but I don't think we should focus on XWiki right now.
Okay, well, it's too bad for us, I guess. Yeah. I would have loved actually to have XWiki somewhere on Apache and be able to help maintain that. But there needs to be the need first. I don't want to push anything on anyone. So if the itch is not there and the need is not there, then it's not going to work.
Let's first start with a redesign of the website and maybe a CMS. We're still looking for a CMS for the whole ASF project. And right now we have one, but it is custom and it's
the home. Yeah, it's the custom, the one made by some Apache guys, right? Yeah.
Yes, and it's just not working very well. So.
And as far as I know, they really, I mean, I've seen on some lists that they really like their tool and they're not really prepared to move to some others, right? Or something.
we can work around it. So we can simply just push our HTML pages directly to the location we want to. So we don't have to use the CMS all the time. So.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks, Robert. Then I guess that closes the topic.
Yes, I think so. Have fun.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, bye.
Nice to have you, bye.
Okay, well, too bad. We tried, I guess. Ben, you want to switch to your topic?
Yeah, I can go for my topic. Apologies for not having the video on, by the way. I am currently on my phone roaming in Spain and can barely get 3G, so my bandwidth isn't very...
It's actually working pretty well.
Is it?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, and I'm sat in a car park about to do my Christmas shopping because I forgot about it.
So we're between your Christmas shopping. Okay, so let's try to keep it short.
A welcome distraction, believe me. So as you probably know, I'm in the process of trying to sell XWiki and what we've been creating in our trial period to the corporate people at Rolls-Royce. So if we sell this, the idea would be that it probably would have between 15 and 20,000 users across the planet. So Indianapolis in the States, then Germany, Derby and Bristol in England, and then Bangalore in India, and a few other places scattered around the planet. Now, with all this, and because we deal with a lot of sensitive information, some governments state that when the data becomes export controlled, this data must reside in the company that holds it until an export license is issued, and then it's moved. Okay, so essentially, we have the need to have a single site that everyone can see. So I presume a single instance of XWiki. That, depending on how you classify articles, different articles or different information would get saved in different SQL databases. Now that's I suppose the way I see it, and the way I could sell it. But I was also wondering what another approach would be. Would there be a RESTful approach or something where you could have separate instances of XWiki for each country, and then have a synchronized script that does the transactions in the back end, and then that would move the information that could be moved and sync it from one database to another. I've seen a few threads on the forum to do with this kind of stuff. So I was just wondering what you guys would recommend in this instance.
So what I can tell you is that we have a big company similar to Rolls-Royce with about 20,000 users, a bit more actually, using XWiki right now, and they have the same need.
Good. Okay.
They have offices around the world, and they're currently running with a cluster of XWiki. So let's say a single instance, a virtual instance of XWiki, and the databases are, I think they're currently, I don't know if they've already moved or not, but they're currently in one place, but they would like to have several databases, one in various countries. And their reason is it's more for reducing the latency. And what they are going to do is they're going to consider building a cluster of the database. That means from the point of view of XWiki, it's a single database, but it would be synchronized over WAN across the different countries. It's possibly a little bit different from what you're doing, because in their case, the data are going to be synchronized across the various countries, where in your case, you wanted the data to stay there.
Well, we would like it synchronized as much as possible. So we assume that 80% of the information won't be export controlled, and therefore we'd obviously like people to be able to collaborate across the planet on as much information as possible. But if someone does decide that they want to work on something that's a little bit more sensitive in their local team, and they tag it as whatever export control rating they decide to put on it, then we'd like that instance of XWiki to restrict it in some way. So either store it locally on its local copy, or simply tag it so that when the syncing happens, it doesn't get synced. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It's a bit harder, actually, quite harder, I think.
Yeah.
Just want to mention one more thing, and then we can, and then the other person can also comment. We had at XWiki SIS company, we had a research project in the past that was called XWiki Concerto. And the point of it was to have XWiki in a distributed mode. That means you had several instances of XWiki, and you could have some offline, and when they were coming online, they would synchronize between themselves. So this is a research project we tried to do.
Yep.
So the data would slowly synchronize, and so that all the instances would have the same kind of data over time as they join the network.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different, but it's a bit. There are some ideas, surely, yeah. However, this was a research project, so it never finished. Was never finished completely. I believe there were some potential issues, even especially in the time it would take in the algorithm used to ensure that all the instances would be synced. I think there was no guarantee about how long that would take. There was some research academy that did this.
Okay.
Academia, and I think that was the issue. That's why we dropped it. Now,
so
someone
it's
wants
quite
to
hard,
say
is
something?
it? Does it sound
It's quite hard. If you have several instances, and then of XWiki, and then you use some REST API to build actually your own site, and then they just get the data from the various wikis, then that's easy. But then you get everything. You have to do everything, yeah. And if you want the same features, then you will need to build them, because XWiki would just be data store.
Yeah. How about just having some, I don't know, some Python or whatever language would be best for this? Maybe some Java even. That runs on a cron job of some type, you know, and say once a day, it goes through the wiki database in every country and copies that across to the other countries if it's allowed to, and doesn't copy the items in the list.
Well, what you will need to do, I mean, we have a database store interface in XWiki, a storage interface. It is currently implemented and working with a single database. I mean, you could, I guess, modify that to be able to load documents, for example, or to save documents from various places. But that's not a small. I don't think that's a small task. And it means also, of course, there are lots of things that may not work, like the search at the database level will not be able, or you will need to search in all the databases.
Yeah.
But maybe you don't want it to be searchable. I don't know. But it's not obvious, I would say.
Okay.
Anyway, does anyone have any comment on that? No? Thomas, any idea?
Well, can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the fact with clustering is that it does pretty much what the Concerto research project used to do. So in theory, it would synchronize everything. All the nodes would be synchronized. The same was valid for the research project. The same is valid for the clustering. Now, I'm not sure how the clustering manages changes while one of the nodes were offline. Are they missed or are they queued and received when the node comes online?
Clustering is not on the data. You have only one database right now. So if your wiki is down, when it comes up, it has the data because it's the same database. It's just about caches. It's not synchronizing data right now.
Okay,
so it's only the XWiki front end, if you want, basically.
So each node shares the same database. All the nodes share the same database.
Yeah,
correct.
So it's really not like a Concerto. Concerto was a lot more work than.
Okay, but we do have remote events, right?
Yeah,
but only shared through the nodes.
Only events.
But do the events also carry the data, like for a page being created, edited?
It's just the references, and then when you receive such an event in a cluster node, it's recreating a local events from what it can find in the database. You have the reference and the version and everything required to create a document modified event. The idea was to share the least possible data between the nodes.
Would it be possible to make the remote event carry the data so that cluster node that has his own database could?
Yeah, but it's not. It's only document events. You will miss other stuff like active activity stream and stuff like this.
Ben, in my opinion, the simplest, but I don't know if that fits your need. The simplest would be to have an XWiki for all the data that are shared across the countries.
Yep.
And then have one per country for country-specific data. And once these data, when they're marked as being able to be shared, then it would be easy to import them, to copy them from this country-specific wiki to the general one.
Right. Yep.
That would be easy. The only issue for your users is that they would have several URLs. They would need to go to the right locations. So you would need some links in the wikis or in the panels on the right or somewhere to navigate to for that.
Right. There'd be no there'd be no way of making it seem like one, would there?
That's the hard part, I guess.
If it's just about synchronizing data, you have features for this in MySQL, for example.
No, it doesn't want to synchronize until.
Not everything.
Yeah, not everything until they are valid. They are marked as being able to be synchronized.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a partial synchronization that I'm looking for.
Yeah, it all depends the level of conflict and speed of synchronization you want, basically, because it's not very hard to transfer data from time to time in a cron. With the REST API, it's very easy, but then it's not really. It might be a bit slow. If you have several people editing the same documents, you might have issues and stuff like this. So
right. Oh, tricky. Sounds like a tricky subject. Well, thank you very much for your feedback. I'll have a bit more of a think.
Yeah, you mentioned that you wanted to sell that internally. So how is it going? Have you progressed since last time? Have you shown it to more people, or I don't know?
Well, the people's increasing. The amount of users that are supporting the project are heavily increasing. They're all behind it. We were supposed to have a big review before Christmas with the senior business partners within our IT organization and capability. And that didn't happen due to weather conditions in England. We got a little bit of snow and everything got called off. So January we'll know more, and then it should go crazy. Hopefully it will anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but I'm pushing slowly, behind the scenes as much as possible, and trying to develop a few things too.
Yeah, I see that with your the forum questions, and I see you're active.
Yeah. Did you? I was wondering if Marius was on the call actually, because you might have noticed I added a pull request about search. So I was just wondering if you wanted to discuss that with me. Yeah,
unfortunately, I don't see him here. He's he's had he has some young kids, and I think he's at home with his family or something, I guess.
Good for him. Good. No, that's all right. I think I'll discuss it with him on Git and stuff. But
well, he's the most knowledgeable one from us on the solar aspects, I guess. Well, even though some knew a bit, but he's the one who's probably maybe worked the most, at least recently.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Well, see what happens. I think the few small changes I made improved search drastically. So, but I only added in the sloppy phrase matching, so that was useful for us. It might be useful for other people too.
Yeah, it could. Yes, definitely. And which version are you on? Version of XWiki?
Our production version is 9.5.1, but I also have a copy of the virtual machine at 9.10, I think.
Okay.
So
9.10.1, I hope, because 9.10, I think 9.10 had issues.
Don't know. Maybe yes. It was a couple of weeks ago that I updated. I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. I'll check now that you mention it.
Yeah. So right now we're moving to stabilization for the end of the year cycle, for the 9.x cycle. That will be till end of the year, and even go further in January. And at the same time, we're just starting on master development, the branch 10, the version 10.0. That means the cycle for next year. just for your information.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so guys, what do you want? Is there anything you want to discuss? I'm the one. I'm speaking too much. I would like others to speak too. No, nothing special on your side. I mean, we can stop here if there is nothing to say.
I don't remember, you said on the channel that you discussed with them about the Google coding tasks, but I don't know what's the ones that remain, if we should publish them or not. Do you know?
Sorry, I didn't get what you were saying, Kathy.
No, I was talking about the remaining of the Google coding tasks that we didn't publish, if we should publish them or not, besides that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think Thomas was okay. It's just lacking time, and they would need some help, I guess, if people were willing to do it. I mean, yesterday when I spoke to Thomas, he said yes, that he was also thinking about this.
Yeah, only admin can do it, so we'll do it. Yeah, I'm not sure it's going to be very useful given the task that has been selected right now, but it was planned like this. So let's enable them.
For your information, Ben, we are participating to Google Coding. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's an initiative from Google to have students participate to open source, but very young students. I mean, school students,
yep.
Aged from 12 to 17. So it's pretty young.
It's cool.
Good.
And so we get a lot, actually. We got like, I don't know, 20-ish plus different students every day joining the program for the past months or so, or even more.
Yeah, I did notice it come up, actually. I was quite impressed. I didn't know what it was, so I went searching and figured out what it was. But no, very, very impressive. I think. Well,
the number is impressive. The quality of the work and the level of the work is a bit less, but that's normal. I mean, for people, for a young person,
yeah,
age 12 to 17.
It's quite a lot of work for you guys, though, isn't it? If you're having to walk them through things.
Yes, that's what we're actually discussing. I mean, we were curious to see what we could do. That's our first participation. We need to decide next year if we want to do it again, seeing the amount of work that it generates. We'll see. We'll see the result. It should end in about 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, it's good to raise profiles, though, isn't it? And stuff, and nice exercise, I suppose, because you never know, you might get some very able people.
That's the hope. It also allows us to work on our onboarding processes for anyone, not especially students, but anyone who wants to join the project and start doing some easy task. We're now much more prepared to do that. We have got for example, we have a VM, virtual machine, with everything set up. So if you wanted to start developing XWiki, you just need to download that VM, and you've got all the tools set up, everything building and linking your IDE. It's using Eclipse.
Right.
And yeah, it's pretty easy to get started with.
Good. What's what VM is it, Vincent?
It's on VirtualBox.
VirtualBox. So. Good to know. Thank you.
There's also an OVA format image that you can use with other softwares. It's more or less a standard that you can import in most image softwares, like VirtualBox or alternatives.
Right. Yeah, I'm just trying to think what we use. We don't use VirtualBox. We use the commercial one, large scale commercial one.
VMware?
Yeah.
VMware, yes.
Yeah, so for VMware, you can use the OVA version.
Okay. Excellent. I might give that a go, actually.
Cool. Nice to have some feedback. Additional from the one we're getting from the students, but apparently, I mean, it seems to be working because they seem to be able to do things.
Some have issues, but weird issues. Yeah.
Never underestimate the ability of a young person to break something, I think.
Yeah.
Good. No, it's impressive, isn't it? Well, it'll be interesting to see what you guys think and what comes out of it at the end.
Yes, well, we'll blog about it. We'll do some stats and gather what happened, and we'll see. Okay, well, shall we stop here? Anyone wants to ask anything else to say? Because I'm on my side, I don't have any more. Just by the way, Ben, by any chance, are you participating to conferences, and are you going to FOSDEM or anything like this?
Not at the moment, but if what I'm trying to do takes off, then I imagine my profile will raise sufficiently that, you know, I can go to some conferences and we can start to do other things like that.
Okay.
So that's the plan.
Yeah, I was mentioning it because a lot of the XWiki developers will be at FOSDEM in Brussels. It's in February next year.
Right.
And we have a booth there, and we have a lot of talks also. And it's a nice place to meet. There are lots of there's a very big open source crowd there.
Right. It's a good idea actually. I'll mention it. And through our innovation community, they can probably fund a trip for some of us. So it'd be nice if we come out and meet you.
Yeah, very nice.
So yeah, we'll see. I'll see how I play my cards on that one.
Okay. Well, thanks. Let's. I suggest we stop here, and we let you finish your Christmas shopping.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Have some nice holidays. Bye.
Yeah, nice holiday to everyone. Yes.
Bye.
Yeah. Merry Christmas to all. Take care. See you next year.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.